ma'am. How are you?
Good. How are you doing?
I'm doing well. I love the yellow.
I wore it for you.
Thank you.
And I feel funny. I can't wear leopard print without thinking of Carol Baskin now. So,
Yes.
but leopard print's my favorite. So, I wanted to do a little game with you. I kind of mentioned it to you. It's called the Grab and Go.
Yes.
So if you can go, let me see. Go and grab your teen snack, your favorite quarantine snack.
Okay.
I'm embarrassed to mention my favorite snack is pretty much anything right now. I'm eating so bad.
It's so not healthy.
Oh,
But
is that chocolate milk?
and chocolate milk.
Oh my gosh. Oh gosh. I can't
And-
even keep cereal in the house because it's my favorite. I don't even buy it.
Like, I love chocolate milk, period. But Cinnamon Toast Crunch, I will not eat it unless it has chocolate milk.
Oh no. My kids love Cinnamon Toast Crunch. I hate for them to hear about this.
Yes, and then also my mom's banana nut bread. She has been making it about every other 2 days because I've been eating it. Frenchie probably does not appreciate it, but
I love it. I love banana bread and I love zucchini bread. Have you ever had zucchini
yes,
bread?
I love zucchini bread.
Yeah. Love zucchini bread. Okay, go grab the weirdest item in the room you're in right now.
Oh boy. Now bear with me. I'm in my parents' living room. They go to Mexico a lot.
What is it? I can't see it. Oh my gosh.
It's a mask, and it's made out of, I think, seashells. Like, I know this is mother of pearl, but
Aw.
I know they
It's
go to
funny. We
Mexico
go to
a lot.
places like that and we come back with the weirdest things.
Yes, exactly. There's plenty of different things like that, but I think this is the weirdest thing.
Okay, last one. Go and grab your most prized possession.
Well, for starters, my Bible.
Okay.
I
Love it.
can't go get Frenchie and come here. And this guy.
Aww.
He is my best friend. I've
What's
had
his
him
name?
for almost 8 years. His name's Strap, and
Aw.
he's an Australian Shepherd, and he is my pride and joy.
Aw. Too cute. I love it. Okay, so let's get questions. Dive in. So tell us a little bit about when you started barrel racing. What's your horse background?
So my parents had me on a horse before I could walk, and I've been running barrels since I was about 3 years old at play days, and then I gradually just made my way up and started running barrels. I guess just going to barrel races and rodeos whenever I was 10, and then I started rodeoing professionally in 2014 is whenever I bought my permit.
Okay, nice.
Or 15, I believe.
Okay, all right.
Yes.
And what was life like for you as a child? What was that like? Obviously horses.
Yes. Horse. Hang on. Strap. Go lay down. Horses. Definitely horses. I was that weird horse girl. I went to a private school that was 30 miles from where I lived, and so I didn't ever really have like the sleepovers and things. But I don't know. I had my animals and my parents, and so I don't know. I was always kind of that weird horse girl.
I get that. My girls, we don't live that far away, but we're out in the middle of the boonies, and I feel like people think we live so far out, and we're really not that far.
Yes.
So
ma'am.
getting sleepovers and kids to come over sometimes, it can be a little bit difficult, and the driving back and forth for both parents.
Yes, ma'am.
So tell us about your horse now, Frenchie.
He was, so I started working for Jolene Montgomery whenever I was a senior in high school, and he was my hands down favorite horse in the barn. I loved him, and he was always kind of a pain in the rear end. He was just that quirky type horse, and I don't know, but I fell in love with him. And then he came up for sale, and some things happened, and he sat in a pasture for about 1 year and 4 months. And then I get a call from Joe, and it's like, hey, do you want to come take Frenchie? The owner's wondering if you want to run him, sell him, whatever. And I was like, sure, I'd love to. So I made a run on him, and it was disastrous. Like, God humbles. Because in my head, I'm like, I'm on an Own Son of Frenchman's Guide. Jolie Montgomery trained him. Like, I got this. I, in fact, did not have that. And it has been a wild ride ever since. It was our rookie year, April the 25th of 2016, and he colicked, had major colic surgery, and he came out of that. And then after that, he had bone infections, blood infections, bone infections again, and just numerous things. He actually had a blood clot the size of a 1/2 inch by 1/2 inch in his main artery in his left shoulder. And they gave him a 50% chance of making it through the night and a 30% chance of making it through the night. And by the grace of God, he came out of that, and they said, you know, you're probably just going to have a really expensive pasture ornament. And I was okay with that. There were people that offered me horses to rodeo on that year, and I just, you know, I didn't want to do that because Frenchie was the one that deserved it. He was the one that also helped me get that card, and so I didn't rodeo until Frenchie was ready.
I'm glad you shared that. I was going to ask you about that. He's definitely a miracle horse. You two are meant for each other, and we'll get into, you know, what's gone on with you, but you both, your struggles and where you've come from, it's amazing. So I'm glad you shared that.
Thank you.
What's been your routine to keep him kind of conditioned during quarantine? What have you guys been up to, or are you just letting him have vacation?
To be real honest, he got a 30-day break, but of course, he loves his job so much that he let me know whenever his break was over. And it was about day 27, and I had already said like 30 days and I'll get back on him. And he would come up to the fence or the gate, and he would just sit there and nicker and just kind of like, why aren't we doing anything? And I mean, he's not one to run up to you in the pasture, and during his break he was, and I'm like, okay, something's up. What did you do? And then now that I'm back on him, he does not, in fact, run up to me in the pasture anymore. I have to go chase him. But
can't make up his mind.
No, he's Frenchie, and if anybody knows that horse, they understand that comment. He's just Frenchie.
I think I've seen, does he have a travel companion, a friend that goes with him?
Yes, he does.
Okay, tell us about that.
He has a mini, and his name is Flava Flav. And
love it.
They fight like brothers. They are truly like brothers. They're on the other side of the pasture, or they're right next to one another. They're either eating out of the same food pan, or they're kicking at one another. And Flav is not afraid to get after him either. He will rear up and paw at him and bite at him and say, no, you're not eating today.
You were on the ambassador team for the American, and then you went on and you ran at the American. So tell us about both experiences.
So I was actually on the ambassador team while Frenchie was out, and I had, the first year I had ran at a couple of the qualifiers, and I was either right out of making it or I hit to qualify. And so it just wasn't in God's plan that time or that year. And so I applied for the ambassador team, and I was the photographer for their social media. And so I did that for 2 or 3 years, and that led into whenever Frenchie was out for those 2 years. And then the first year back really is whenever I entered the Patriot qualifier, and it was kind of a joke. My mom and I were just kind of joking about it. It was the last day to enter the qualifier, and she was like, hey, why don't you enter? And I'm like, hey, why don't you pay for it? And she was like, okay. And I'm like, wait, really? And she's like, sure, if you win money, you can pay me back. And I was like, Okay.
I love it.
So I entered, and he went in there and laid down a smoking run, and we ended up third at the qualifier, and my mom wouldn't let me pay her back. And it was just, that month in general was truly incredible. I hadn't been able to swing a leg over him because I had moved out of state and started a job in Vegas, and then I was working from home that month, and I had a very good friend that had been taking care of Frenchie, and she kept him legged up, so whenever I flew into Texas, he was ready to go. And so I jumped in a trailer and I started going, and he just, every single place we went, he gave me his heart, and it was like Frenchie was a totally different horse. Like there was a different fire that was lit for the both of us. And that was really whenever dreams started coming true for Frenchie and I.
And it's been amazing to watch that. I've watched you from the beginning, and I just love everything about your story and your journey. So I'm super excited to have you on here today.
Thank you. I'm very grateful and humbled that you asked.
Oh, well, thank you. Barrel racing tips. Do you have any for beginners? Anything that you'd like to share?
Yes. My main thing is find a really good mentor that you can trust, that you can go to, and one that also has the similar style as you. You're not gonna, if you prefer push style horses and things like that, you're not necessarily going to want to go get tips from somebody that really enjoys free runners. And so get somebody that both styles mimic, and make sure, another thing about it is that make sure that they're a positive person in your life, one that truly wants to see you succeed. One of my biggest mentors since I was 10 years old, I think, is whenever we first met, is Marlene McCamey. I know that I can text her, I can call her, and she's there for me no matter what. And she has really, really helped my barrel racing career just through all the struggles that I've gone through. And I mean, I remember I was at a clinic of hers and my horse got hurt, and she put me on one of hers to finish the clinic on. And
nice.
She is one incredible human being in and out of the arena.
Nice. This is kind of a touchy subject, but girls can be catty. So if you have a young girl that's getting into barrel racing and she's met with that at the rodeo, how have you ever come across that, and how do you suggest they handle that? Yes,
ma'am. And I'd be lying if I said that I haven't been that girl too. I think everybody has encountered that, and everybody has been that. Mm-hmm. Just honestly, keep your mouth shut. And another thing that my mom taught me ever since I was a little girl, and I say little as in like 4 or 5 years old, if they're talking about you, then they're leaving somebody else's name out of their mouth. And that other person might not be able to handle it as well as you. And so in the world that we live in today, you've got to have some pretty thick skin. I know that I wear my heart on my sleeve a lot, and if you want to succeed, you have to keep going no matter what people say. And it's not their job to judge you. It is a human nature to judge. And like I said, I'm guilty of it as well. But God didn't give us a sheriff's badge. He's the only one that gets to judge us. And so,
I love your honesty and great advice.
I mean, as long as you feel like it is right within your heart and with God, I just keep on trucking. I mean, I know that there's been, remarks about just simply my yellow hat, and I just smile and keep on going. And, a lot of the times I know that whenever I was snarky or rude or judgmental, it was because of my own insecurities. And I'll never forget one time, one of my friends was telling me a story, and it was, she used to high school rodeo with this girl, or junior rodeo with this girl, and every time she turned around, she had the brand new color of the classic Equine Legacy sport boots and bell boots. And what she didn't know until later on in life, whenever they became friends, is that that's the only thing that she ever asked for her birthday, for Christmas, for any kind of gift, and that is what she bought whenever she had money saved up. So it's not necessarily that she was a spoiled brat, it's just that is what she wanted. And
Yep,
so
I love it.
perception is a huge thing. So until you walk in somebody's shoes, I think that's the biggest thing. Until you've walked in somebody's shoes and you know their heart, then just don't worry about it. Stay in your own lane. Run your own lane.
I love it. So your platform, you talked about yellow, and your passion is the yellow felt soul.
Yes.
Tell us about that and why it's so important to you.
So whenever I was 6 years old, my biological dad committed suicide. And I don't know, I've attempted suicide. I've battled depression, anxiety, pretty much all of my life. And it's always been a passion of mine to help others know their worth and know that they are loved, because I know how it affected me with my dad and my family, and I don't want somebody else to have to go through that kind of pain. And I mean, it's been 19 years, and I'd be lying to you if I said, it's easy, because last month was his death anniversary, and it hit me like a brick wall. And there were some days where simply getting out of bed was a victory.
I'm very sorry for what you went through. There's no words. There really isn't. But I commend you on your bravery and your willingness to come out and to share that with everyone. You have to be helping people. I know that you sharing your story makes other people brave. So good for you. And I don't mean to make you cry. So the color yellow, you wear your yellow hat, and there's a stigma, I guess, against that in the rodeo world. So why yellow? Tell us why.
So yellow has been a superstition for years. It's kind of like, you don't put your hat on the bed, you don't pay your entry fees with a $50 bill, things like that. And just so happens that yellow is a color for depression and suicide awareness. So whenever you wear yellow, the stigma is just simply, all odds are against you. You're going to miss your calf, you're going to hit a barrel, you're not going to make 8, etc. Well, whenever you're depressed and suicidal, you feel like all odds are against you, but instead of just inside the rodeo arena, it's the world and everyone in it. And so by wearing a yellow hat, and I will say, I'm not a superstitious person, but that is the one superstition that I believed in growing up. And I did not ever wear yellow. And then God was like, oh yeah, I want you to buy a yellow hat to run it. And I vividly remember thinking, you're joking. And here we are. I'll tell you right now, just don't argue with the big man above, because he will get his way one way or the other. Just go ahead and go with it.
So for people that are home right now, suicide rates are up. Depression and anxiety has to be up. What advice or what tips do you have for people that may be struggling with that right now?
I know for me personally, I will be very honest right now. I had to call my doctor, and I did get my antidepressants bumped up.
Yep.
And it wasn't that I wasn't trying to be sad or depressed, or I wasn't choosing to not be happy. It was just life, and everything was taking a toll, and I was trying my best to just do it on my own, and I realized, like, being prideful is what I'm trying to get people not to do. And
right.
So myself being prideful really kind of needed to take my own advice. And so I did that. I've been trying to read my devotions and dive into the Word, because another thing with the yellow is Matthew 17:20. With the faith the size of a mustard seed, you can move mountains. Well, whenever you have the faith the size of a mustard seed, you can trust God that no matter what happens, that He has a plan and a purpose. He tells us that in Jeremiah 29:11, that for I know the plans I have for you, declares the Lord, plans to prosper you, not to harm you, plans to give you hope in a future. And God doesn't do things to hurt us. That's the devil. And so I've been trying to trust Him, and it's been hard, to be real honest, but it's one of those things that, every day is a work in progress. As long as you just keep going and keep trying, it's the relationship with you and God is a continuous, just ongoing thing. You don't ever stay put. You don't ever, it's like you don't finally get to the top of the ladder. You just keep going, or you stay stagnant.
Yeah. And touch a little bit about what you talked about with needing the medication. I think a lot of people don't realize, and I have struggled with some anxiety over the years off and on, and I had postpartum depression with my first daughter. It's not like okay, I'm just going to choose to feel better today. And I think people don't get that. There are things that we can do, like exercise or getting some sunshine, that sometimes only puts a Band-Aid on it for some people. So I feel like some people judge, like, why can't you just snap out of it? Why do you need medication? Sometimes there just is no other way. So I commend you on that, and I'm sorry that you're struggling, but I'm thankful that you're sharing your story, and I know it is touching other people. So
every struggle, it just makes you stronger. No matter what the struggle is, it always makes you stronger, and it makes you closer to God.
Absolutely. Are there any books that have helped you, or that you would suggest to anyone?
Yes, I tried to narrow it down, because I have a lot that I recommend. And some of these are directed towards female.
Okay.
But my all-time favorite book, besides the Bible, it is directed towards females, but it's called Uninvited. And this is what it looks like. You can get it on Amazon. Hobby Lobby is where I got mine. Barnes & Noble, pretty much anywhere. But it's living loved when you feel less than, left out, and lonely. And I don't care if you're single, married, teenager, preteen, I don't care how old you are. This book is incredible. It truly helped me, and it's not one of those books that you read it once and, oh, I'm good now. Like, hang on to it. Read it again. It's because you can transform it to any situation that you're in. And so that book is really awesome.
Okay. Before you continue, guys, if you guys have Shelby sitting right here, if you have questions, use the little question box. It's got the question mark on it, and send us questions. She will have a few minutes at the end to answer anything you want to ask. Okay, go ahead.
One of my favorites is it's a devotion. It's called Jesus Calling, and I have the morning evening edition, and it's not broken down by like day 1, day 2. So if you skip a day, it's like, oh, what day was I on? Because if you're like me, kind of happens. It actually has the dates on there, so you can flip to that specific day. And then a couple of the other ones is Goliath Must Fall, and it's talking about winning the battles against your giants. And I got this at Mardell's, and I think Hobby Lobby may have it too. The Joy Model, and this is talking about how everyone has your true inner joy, and it's differentiating the difference. I said that incorrectly, but bear with me. It's telling you the difference between joy and happiness, and how your joy is true, and And it, yes, can somewhat fluctuate, but your happiness is what truly fluctuates. You know, yes, whenever you win a barrel race or a rodeo, you're really happy. But whenever you hit a barrel at that rodeo, no, you may not be happy, but you can still keep going because of that true inner joy. And then one that I also love is 10-minute toughness. And it's just talking about your mindset and mental health and mental training. And it's really helped me competitively wise. So those are some of the other ones. And then for females, this is also another one. I actually did it a couple years ago, and I just ordered it again, but it's 100 Days to Brave, and it's a devotion, and it just breaks it down into just like day 10, it's talking about your feet. One of the truest ways to glorify God with your feet is to lead.
Okay. Well, thank you. I'll definitely check those out. And I'll try to list them out on Facebook in case anybody wants to find them. And I'll put links. And I think we have a question. I'm going to see if I can. Let's see. Oh, they just want to know where you're from.
I'm from a tiny town called Frost, Texas. I graduated with 22 people.
Okay. Very tiny.
Yes. I think the population is about 500.
Wow.
Nearest Walmart is about 30 miles. So,
my goodness. I guess my last question for you is Yellow Felt Soul. What's your end goal? What would you love to see happen?
There's several different things that I would absolutely love for Yellow Felt Soul. I eventually want it to be, I want there to be a yellow night at the NFR. I do. And then I want to team up with a clothing line so it gives people a place to go to wear yellow, because I've had many people ask me like, hey, where do you find your yellow shirts? And a couple, actually the majority of my yellow shirts have been custom made. I do have one from Sundial and a couple other companies, but because of the superstition and the stigma of yellow inside the arena, it's kind of hard to find yellow shirts or shirts with yellow in them. And so I would love to team up with a clothing company and come out with a Yellow Felt Soul line.
I like that. And I do believe in 5 years, maybe 5 years if it takes that long, that we'll see both of those things happening.
That would be pretty awesome.
We have one more question. What is your go-to hauling song?
Like if I need like to just a good pick-me-up and just really get in the mood. Like I love listening to Christian, but Fergalicious is my go-to.
I love it.
I can rap the entire thing, and then I've actually changed it to where whenever she spells out Fergie, I've kind of changed it to where it spells out Shelby.
Oh, I love it. Oh, so next time you have to come on and sing that for us.
Oh boy.
Just kidding.
I sound like a dying cow. You know, God, he blesses people with vocal cords.
Me neither.
Nope, not me, but I will sing it.
I love it. Well, Shelby, thank you so much for your time today.
Yes, thank you so much,
I appreciate
Heather.
it. You're such a joy. And everybody, listen, I will try to post a replay. I'm trying to figure out how to make it work well so that I can put it on my YouTube channel and then on Facebook. And keep an eye out on the Women in Rodeo pages for upcoming shows and guests. And we'll see you in 2 weeks on Thursday at 1 p.m. Thanks, Shelby.
Yes, thank you, Heather. And thank you everyone for watching.